Hey everyone, Anishka here. Welcome to a special episode of the Allies podcast. We really appreciate you listening in. Today, I've got the opportunity to bring on a guest speaker to our podcast. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hi, my name is Shafali and I'm an 8th grade student.
Thank you so much. We are very grateful that you could come and speak with us.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Now, we just have a couple questions to ask you, but by all means, speak freely and voice any opinions or thoughts that you may have on any of the topics we will be covering. Since our podcast series is about race and culture, sexualities, and gender identities, I will just be asking you a few questions relating to those subjects, and we'll see how the conversation goes from there.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so first up, how do you feel about the discrimination against different minority groups? For example, hate crimes and terrible stereotypes against different races.
I feel like stereotypes have been incredibly normalized in our society, to the point where they're used to pit minorities against each other and against themselves, really. Speaking as an Indian American, I'm often undermined for the work that I put in to succeed at anything because I'm supposedly bound to do so anyway. Yeah, maybe that 10% of people, the ones that get in the A range, have that natural talent and that skill that gets him to the top 1% of society. But, there's also us 90%, the ones that work hard but are told that they achieve because we're naturally like that. Everything I do and other people of the Asian American community do is cast underneath the shadow of the model minority trope.
Exactly. I feel like society has gotten used to some laid back forms of racism, typically through stereotypes meant to be interpreted as jokes. Some of these comments may be something you could shrug off, but the fact that people are so accustomed to these stereotypical jokes proves that something is wrong in society. These remarks can make people feel frustrated or annoyed, and once people start to feel these kinds of negative emotions, is it really still a joke anymore? I
No,
totally agree
it's
with what
not.
you said. Exactly. But there are some more violent and drastic forms of racism other than stereotypes, like hate crimes. So, what is your opinion on the recent hate crimes against Black people, as seen uh, with the Black Lives Movement being in retaliation to these hate crimes, and hate crimes towards Asians due to COVID-19?
Well, to be blunt and to begin, it makes me pretty angry. The amount of hate people are showing towards people they don't know, they haven't met, they haven't seen is absolutely ridiculous. And it shows the lack of common sense that people are portraying right now and how deeply rooted hate and biases are in our minds. BLM is a movement that has encompassed the world because nowadays someone's skin color has become something people are using to judge their character. Hate against the Asian American slash Pacific Islander community has been around for a while and has become more severe because people want to blame others for their problems. And these problems being the ones that have been caused by COVID. Obviously, these are only contributing factors, but this hate has been built up through centuries of prejudice.
Exactly. But on a kind of different note, what do you think of the lack of acceptance towards different sexualities and the rejection of certain gender identities?
I think this one's linked to my previous answer in the way that it's deeply rooted in our society. People don't want things to change. They don't understand why the things around them are changing. And the only way to get to the road of acceptance is, simply education. They have to learn, they have to see why prejudice against different communities is wrong and why the diversity around us is beautiful and it only makes us stronger.
I totally agree. People's opinions and perspectives are based on the way they were taught or their upbringings. It also has something to do with the certain beliefs they follow, but that's why education is so important. We may not be able to change everyone's opinions, but we can affect society in a positive way by spreading the education of acceptance of different identities through this generation today, so that perhaps in the future, the opinions and perspectives of people are more inclusive and healthier for society than they are now.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right. So, what are your opinions about those who identify with different sexualities other than heterosexual? Or what are your opinions about those who identify with different gender identities other than cisgender?
Character-wise, I don't really have opinion. This is also related to what I said about race. Someone's sexuality slash gender slash race doesn't speak for them or their character. Regarding acceptance in the media, however, I feel like they're highly misrepresented. I honestly like to see a character with a different sexuality or a different gender identity that just exists without that being their entire personality, you know? But I'm glad characters with different gender identities, less sexualities, are slowly being written in as characters with depth and characters that people can relate to and see themselves in. And looking at it in the most positive way possible, we are still a long way from getting to the point that we want to be, but we are still getting there. We're still moving. And
I
that's it.
agree. Society has come a long way in becoming progressive. So,
Yeah.
is there anything you would like to elaborate on? Any other thoughts? Anything you would like to let our audience know before we wrap up?
Well, I feel like all these topics that we've just discussed today are all interconnected. They're all based on prejudice and hate. And I feel like the person listening, thanks for listening, because I hope I was able to contribute to the conversation in some way, and your opinions or perspectives were able to change into a more accepting direction. Um, and just thanks for having me. And to that one person listening, have a great day or night.
Thank you so much for being on. And yes, have a great day, everyone.